Hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm the young one.
You know what? You always say that, John. Are you really? Okay, well, that's fine. I'm Corey, and I'm the emotionally stable one.
Okay, I cried one time on the treadmill at the gym. One time. Calm down.
We're business coaches and experts in mindset support and strategy building, with our goal being to help your businesses scale, grow, and pivot.
When things aren't working, we don't believe in throwing it all away. Sometimes all you need is a reboot, and that's why we're here to help.
Welcome back, campers. We are so excited to
Crafts. I go to the craft station. Go to the craft station.
We are so excited to have this second episode in our Reboot Camp summer series. We kicked off last week with our explanation of what summer camp is going to be all about for us this summer. You guys know we like to hit it hard and heavy over the summer, or like we said before, it could be a lazy river for you. It's totally up to you, but these are going to be short micro episodes to get you through the summer, but also to make really, really impactful not changes, but like impact.
We can't.
Thank you.
We can't say that sentence. I don't know what's wrong with us.
I don't know either. But anyway, we are just really excited to talk about, for a whole month of June, we're going to be talking about branding. In July, we're going to walk through content creation. Hello, one of our most favorite things. And then in August, which is our other most favorite thing, we're going to be wrapping it all up by talking about copy and email marketing. And so if you listened to last week's episode, we chatted all about how important and impactful your visuals are. And so now, let's make sure your message sounds like you. And so in the second episode of the Business Reboot Camp series, we're going to be talking about brand voice and how to make sure yours is aligned, authentically you, and very consistent across all of your platforms. And if you're like, all of my platforms, I'm only on Instagram. Okay, well, this whole summer series is for you, because you should not just be creating and launching and having your brand live on one platform. So whether you're writing a caption, you're recording a podcast, or you're emailing your email list, your voice is what makes your audience say, she gets me. She gets me. And so today we're going to help you find your voice, refine it, and use it to attract your right fit clients with confidence.
That's right. Okay. Because storytelling, we're going to talk about storytelling a lot. It can feel really murky or even self-indulgent sometimes. We've been conditioned to just kind of get to the point, especially the older you get. I hit 40 and people seem to be unentertained by my long stories. I think that's their problem, not mine. Or things like keep it professional. But the truth is sometimes storytelling, not sometimes, but all the time, that's how we build trust. That's how we, show emotion. That's how we build connection. And for women especially, that's our biggest asset. I feel like we're natural born storytellers. And I will just say, let's just start this off by an example, because we, my kids and I, and my husband, my whole family, I don't know why I said it like that, sorry. We went to Universal for spring break this year, and we went to the Minions ride and did all this stuff with the Minions and Despicable Me. And it made me laugh so much because we were watching a scene from the movie where Agnes, the littlest girl, is reciting the poem for Mother's Day, and she doesn't have a mom, and she's going, "She kisses my boo-boos. She brushes my hair. We appreciate you mothers everywhere." And it was so flat and not at all like her personality. And that's exactly what can happen when your brand voice is disconnected. People can know you in person and then be like, who are you on the internet? You are weird. So, just to kind of give you some stats about why your brand voice is one of the most overlooked tools in your business, if you're not careful, is that 86% of consumers say that authenticity is a key factor when they're deciding on what brands they want to like and support. Okay, here's the deal. 86%. That goes way beyond just the whole like, know, and trust. They want to know you, and they want to know that what they're buying from you is reflective of who you are. Nobody wants to be anymore, if you will. If your brand voice feels like a game of dress up, then your audience is going to feel that too. And we've seen it. Let's be really honest. You ever seen an influencer do an ad for, we'll just pop back to last episode, for a coffee enema, and they just look like they don't want that, but they're doing it anyway. Or if they have food and drink and they're doing something, they taste something and it's awful, and they're trying to just get it down because they've been paid money by a brand. We've all seen people do it, but we do it not we, but we as collective group of humans can do that in our business if we're not careful and we don't solidly have a grip on what our brand voice is.
Right. So, okay, let's talk exactly that. Like discovering your brand voice through storytelling, because a lot of times people will be like, well, okay, I know I need to have a brand voice. We talked about brand identity last week, but like, I don't even know where to start. And we get that a lot of times from people that we talk to about this. Is like the blinking cursor on a blank page. It's like the death stare. Like, I don't even know where to start. And we've heard this word quite a bit. Like, it's overwhelming. Like, I don't even know where to start. And so that's where we like crack our knuckles and are like, okay, let's dig in. Because one of the easiest ways, and that's what we're going to do on this podcast series for the summer, is really just kind of do the down and dirty as to how to get this stuff done. But tap into your lived experience, because your tone should reflect the woman that you've become. And so it's this fine dance of like speaking to the pain points and the problems that your business solves for your ideal client and market. But it's also got to go through, filtered through the stories of your lived experience, the transformation of where you were to where you've come. Like, all of those things are so important. And so that's how people will connect with you. And we as humans are always subconsciously and consciously looking for connectors. And so there's this 3-word method that you can use. And this is where you choose like 3 adjectives that describe your brand. So for instance, it might be warm, witty, and wise. For us, it's sassy, unhinged, and what's another word, Melissa, that we might use? Smart.
Or smart. Wow. That was good. You know, I remember when this was kind of like the big thing that you did with your websites. They wanted you, this was really big in like the early 2000s and 2010s was, people would tell you in creative world, like, you want people to look at your website and give you 3 words, and you want them to feel those 3 things when they look at your stuff. And it felt like such a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it would be like, you know, fun and creative and whatever. It's kind of like the, Instagram bios where it would be like, I love Jesus and coffee and whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. That doesn't tell me anything about you at all. But using 3 adjectives to describe your brand, that is honestly, it's a lot easier, because you get to decide the emotion that you want your brand to evoke in other people. So if you were to come up with, I don't know, witty, warm, wise, and, you know, the alliteration of all the W's, that's easy to be able to then display, because you're again, projecting someone else's feelings on what you're putting out there.
Well, and that helps you be consistent in presenting your brand. And the honest stat here is that the consistent presentation of our brand, it increases the revenue by 23%, according to the Forbes article that we were reading on this. And so that's where that consistency and that common thread, and that's where these 3 words can really be powerful and impactful and help you. Because if you write something or you're looking at something that you're getting ready to put out there, and if it doesn't evoke warm, witty, and wise to you, let's just use those words as an example, then it's likely you've missed the mark. And so people will know, because we are very savvy consumers and very savvy buyers. You want that consistent presentation across all, like your email, your website, your branding, the social media that you're putting out. You want it to be, well, let's do, for instance, like if you had a very elevated brand and your website was stunning, a lot of serif fonts. Melissa and I love a good serif font. And your colors were very neutral and dynamic, and it just was very elevated and elegant. But then your social media was very cutesy and silly, and there's a disconnect to where they see you on social media doing this role-playing silly stuff, but then they go to your website and it's very elevated and elegant. It doesn't match. And so you want to make sure that you're filtering what you're creating through kind of that 3 adjective method, if you're having a hard time getting started. And this is also is where you get to use personal storytelling to deepen the connection. We definitely are not fans of trauma dumping. Trauma bonding with your ideal clients is not the way, but to show transformation. And so we've worked with clients who they had gone through a hard season and they were like, but I want to use this story and this personal connection because I want to show my warmth and my depth and the soul searching, serving way that I serve clients. And we're like, yeah, but here's the thing. The trauma dumping is not, you're going to be calling in other people who also are going through something traumatic. And that can make for a very messy work situation. And so show the transformation, show that this is where you were, this is what you went through, but then this is where you are now. Talk about it from this position of you've gone through it and they can too, as an inspiration, not a trauma connection.
Right. Well, and just for an example, and I will now, okay, everyone, I want you to gather around the fire. We're gonna have a moment of seriousness together where we reflect on our lives. Just for instance, because most people don't know my story unless you're within my circle, but I grew up with a single mom. We grew up poor. It was all the things, but I also experienced a lot of sexual abuse as a child. And this is not something that like, I'm not going to be dumping that on Instagram during, like, what is the word, sexual abuse awareness month. Like I realized that was just a thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm good, I'm not gonna. But so when we talk about sharing moments and things that are relatable, not spotlighting like just the trauma dump things, I'm not ever gonna come at it on a big platform unless it's necessary, unless something happens that requires me to say that. And it's not for, I mean, it could be self-preservation. I don't care. For me personally, it wouldn't be, but it's because it would not, if it's not going to help and connect, then it's kind of just a useless story to a lot of people, not to me, but to others. And so, but what I can do is talk openly about times in my life where I was scared, or times where I felt like I was completely by myself, or times where, I had to muster up the courage to do something that I didn't want to do just because it had to get done. And I can use that story. I don't have to tell the nitty gritty details that are going to have people look at me. And here's the deal is that we don't want people to ever pity us. I don't, and I know that that's probably a trauma response. Don't come at me with your therapy. It's fine. I shop. I'm good. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke. But it's more that I want to use the story to connect with people. And that's what we want. We want to share relatable moments that will help us be brought into people's story and bring them into ours. It's kind of like how, and this is again, like trigger warning, this is a hard example, but how if someone that you know that you're close to has a miscarriage, and then if you've experienced that same thing too, it can be like, yeah, I've been there, and you're going to be fine. That is not helpful. How about your response being, that really sucks. What can I do? Like, can I sit with you in it? Like, it's like you're wanting the story to connect you to people, but you don't want for yourself to be the hero. You need your people to be the hero. And so you can use these really deep, even traumatic stories that you've been dealt in life or that you've experienced to connect, to utilize empathy that you've learned from having to endure those things, and really craft yourself in a position that's going to guide people instead of putting this focus on the dookie sandwich you had to eat for lunch.
Well, can I share something real quick? Because I literally walked through a little bit of that last week in some sharing of like content of the fact that like Grace lives in Hawaii, being a military family, all the things that we went through. And when I share stories about that season of our life, like war, I don't talk about all of the nights that you lay in bed like crying and wondering like, is he going to come home? Like you haven't heard from him. Like Melissa, you were talking about like the hard childhood that you had. I don't go into that kind of detail, but I shared a story about how we were welcoming Kevin home from Afghanistan, and we had such an amazing community at our church. And one of our Bible study leaders, they were there. We had pictures, and it was a great picture of Grace and Shar whenever Grace was in like 5th grade. And then I shared a picture of Grace now as a 26-year-old, and she is back in Hawaii, same base chapel, and she is doing Bible study with Shar as the leader. And I showed a picture of Grace and Shar together. Can I tell you that sharing that story of the hard season that we went through, the people that were there to love and support us, and now the fact that it's come full circle and Grace is back there again, being loved on and served by these people, the connecting part of that by sharing it on Instagram and Facebook, my DMs were flooded with people that were like, that is so cool. Like that makes me a human in their eyes. And I didn't remember that you went through like seasons of war. I didn't realize that like you guys have had such loving people along the way. And so it shares that little sliver of our lives that you don't talk about on the regular, but in a way of like you said, transformation, and that somebody else might be going through something, and just wait, because there might be a full circle moment that comes out of it 10 or 15 years later. And so those are the stories that you have lived through that you can share, and that can be impactful to either inspire, encourage, or help others, but also make you relatable to them as a human and not just a body on the other side of this app.
That's right. Well, and ultimately it comes down to you not just sharing your stories or even your accomplishments, like the good things. Talk about the awards you've won. Talk about how you're top in your industry. Talk about all those things, but really do it from a place where you're going to be true to what people are going to see and get from you when they actually work with you. And instead of just showing people what's possible, you're going to show them ways that you're utilizing every part of you to be able to serve them, and you're going to help them get those transformations too.
That's it. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us this week. Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Business Reboot, or visit our website at thebusinessreboot.com. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Business Reboot Podcast.